Canada's soon-to-be newest member of the Supreme Court of Canada was questioned by federal politicians last week. Justice Nicolas Kasirer has served on the Quebec Court of Appeal for a decade, is an expert in civil law, and also spent 20 years as a professor of law at McGill University, including as Dean of the Law Faculty. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau nominated Kasirer to fill a vacancy created by the coming retirement of Justice Clement Classon. Kasirer told the Justice Committee that he's honored by the nomination and that he thinks it's ideally suited for him to take a seat in Canada's top court. Global News Radio's Danielle Smith joins us now to talk more about this one. Danielle, I know he describes himself as a moderate, so how is this going to change or impact the top court?
Well, isn't this interesting? We have no idea because we don't go through the same process that they do in the United States. I find it absolutely fascinating how American politics, their choice for the president turns on who is going to have the power to appoint Supreme Court justices. And when Brett Kavanaugh was going through his nomination process, it was wall-to-wall coverage here, asking where the Senate was asking questions of him. And yet Nicolas Kasirer gets named back in July 10th, and there's a nice little committee meeting with MPs asking him polite questions, and we've got no idea what his leaning is. We've got no idea what his decisions have been. We've got no idea how this is going to shape the future court. So I'm going to talk today with Mark Mancini about why it is there is such a difference, because the Supreme Court in Canada in shaping laws is just as vitally important as the U.S. Supreme Court is, especially in the post-charter days. And we've got some big conflicts that are shaping up. Look, for instance, at what's happening in Quebec with this secular law and the ban on religious symbols. Ultimately, that's going to go all the way up to the Supreme Court. Now you've got a new Quebec court judge that's appointed there. Where does he stand on that? Is he going to uphold that law, or is he going to uphold the religious freedoms of people to express themselves in their own way? I think these are vitally important questions for how governments conduct themselves, and also whether or not Quebec's law might find its way seeping out into other provinces. And I find it fascinating that we know virtually nothing about this justice. So I'm going to talk to somebody who was following the hearings to see if we can get a little insight into that.
Certainly worth taking a closer look at for sure. Danielle, you mentioned the MPs asked him polite questions. What did they ask him?
I'm telling you, there's been no coverage on it. That's part of the reason why I'm just sort of mystified by the whole process and why it is that we don't care enough about our judges. So that's why I want to have somebody on today who's monitored it and who can tell us what are the interesting aspects that came out of it. I think it's unfortunate that we have such a lackadaisical attitude about our judges, such a lack of interest when they are so vitally important in deciding which laws stand and which ones fail. That to me is the most interesting aspect of all of this.
Okay, join and listen on the conversation on Danielle's show today starting at 9:30 on Global News Radio. Thanks, Danielle.
Yeah, thank you.